My favorite D&D character I've ever played was a guy named Mack Wilde. The thing you have to know about Mack Wilde is that he was cool. Not cool in the way that actual people are cool, but in that Dave Strider-ass totally radical 90s skateboarder way. He was an elven bard who wore sunglasses and a fedora. His instrument of choice was a saxophone, because, like I said, he was a cool dude. Or, at the very least, he thought he was. Now, Mack Wilde had this edgy backstory that I'm kind of embarrassed about. This video isn't about his backstory, or his character arc, or his daddy issues, or any of that bullshit. Maybe I'll do a sequel to this video and talk about it then, I don't know. No, I'd like to talk about what it was like to play Mack Wilde. The thing that I ended up doing a lot with this character was stupid bullshit. Stupid bullshit like getting drunk and waking up in the woods wearing nothing but a Speedo. Like, that's what the Bard spell list is. It's a lot of spells designed for stupid bullshit. Charm Person, Invisibility, Bestow Curse, Polymorph, fucking Prestidigitation. It's class designed for fuckery and messing with people. So this other guy in the campaign, who was a halfling fighter named Roscoe Ramadan, and he and Mack hated each other. Roscoe was lawful good and Mack Wilde was chaotic good. But in the way that someone who had only played D&D for a month thinks a chaotic good character acts, that is to say, chaotic neutral. The feud began when the two of them were shopping, and Roscoe asked the clerk if they had any halfling-sized cloaks. The clerk said, "No, but we do have human-sized cloaks." Mack ended up buying a cloak, admittedly to mock Roscoe. So Mack and Roscoe were roommates, and Mack woke up the next morning with his new cloak torn to shreds. Mack calmly walked up to Roscoe and, channeling the elder god Bugs Bunny, said, "This means war." A few days later, this other party member, her name was Juliana, was feeling depressed, so Roscoe, being a much better person than Mack, decided to make the whole party breakfast. Mack walked down, sat at the table in front of this amazing feast, and used prestidigitation to make Roscoe's plate taste like shit. Later that night, Roscoe did the old bucket of water on the door trick. Mack responded by going to the bathroom, filling it up again, and dumping it on that halfling asshole. A few sections later, Roscoe got into an archery contest with the party's ranger, and Mack entered because, fuck it, who wants to let Roscoe win? The three archers were tasked with taking 2 shots. After the first round, the score was Roscoe in third, Mack in second, and the party's ranger in first. Mack decided, screw it. I'm not gonna win, but I can guarantee Roscoe loses. In hindsight, Mack probably should have smoothed things out. But also, Roscoe ended up starting a prank war with this other party member, this guy named Depot, who I do not have time to talk about because that's a whole thing. So I mean, it wasn't all on me. But anyway, back to the archery contest. Right before Roscoe was about to fire, Mack cast Hold Person on him and made him screw up the shot. The thing is, Roscoe wasn't just a fighter, he was an arcane archer, and arcane archers get a cool ability called Seeking Arrow. Yeah, so anyway, Mack got shot. The prank war ended up fizzling out when the party was forced to ditch their base because assassins were coming for them. Which is a shame, because I had this whole massive plan where I would lay out dozens of mouse traps by the foot of Roscoe's bed, then use Major Illusion to make half of the mouse traps invisible, so Roscoe would try to walk through the holes in the trap and would end up stepping on mouse traps anyway. That's fine, the prank war had run its course. The campaign ended up having a 5-year time skip halfway through. After having not seen Roscoe for a year, Mack walked up to him and offered him a handshake, saying, "Hey, I know we didn't always get along, but that's behind us." Roscoe took Mack's hand, and that's when I cast Bestow Curse. The prank war lives! Jokes aside, this is part of why I love RPGs. The freedom from a looser rule set allows you to make your own schemes and use powers in new ways that no one has ever thought. And that's what I tried to do with this character, tried to keep coming up with new ways to use magic in cool ways. Like this one time, the party was going through a mansion and there was this hallway filled with intense magic wind. Like you needed to make a strength check to make it through. Mack, being a bard, was a squishy loser who couldn't do a pull-up. You know, because RPGs are about playing a character who is different from yourself. Anyway, the way Mack made it through was by casting Unseen Servant and having this invisible butler give him a piggyback glide. And also this one time, Mack fought Satan using a dozen kazoos. Yeah, I'm not going to explain that one. Maybe later. The coolest thing I ever did as Mack Wilde happened when the party was fighting a rock. Like this big evil bird thing, not like, we weren't just going up to a rock like a boulder and stabbing it. The rock, it was flying in the air and we couldn't hit it. On one turn, Mack used Dimension Door to teleport himself onto the rock's back. Mack barely managed to hold on with his terrible strength stat, and on the next turn, cast Polymorph. Not on the rock, on himself, to turn into a T-Rex and drag the rock to the ground with his weight. The way I described this visually was that T-Rex Mack sank his teeth into the rock's neck and basically suplexed it down in front of the party. So I have one more story about Mack Wilde before I go, and I'd like to preface this story by saying that neither me nor the DM read the rules correctly. In my defense, I was young and the rules for Glyph of Warding are very, very long. There are two very important things I missed. Number one, it costs 200 gold every time you cast it, which I did not have. And number two, the object you cast this spell on cannot be moved more than 10 feet or the spell fizzles out. That second rule is very important. Without it, the spell is broken. But, let me tell you the story. We were infiltrating this castle filled with fire elementals, too tough for us to just charge in and fight. So Mack comes up with this plan. He pulls out this neon yellow speedo he'd woken up with, casts Glyph of Warding, specifically the explosive cold runes, and flings the speedo around a corner. The fire elementals walk up and inspect it, which causes the runes to go off. The party seizes the opportunity and charges in, taking out the weakened elementals with ease. All thanks to their totally radical bard, a guy by the name of Mack Wilde.